Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to show you how I created this scene, and I'm going to take you from start to finish on how I place the asset, the textures and everything. I'm not going to go too deep dive because everything that I'm using here I've already have in my previous video. So I'm going to leave a playlist as a pinned comment so you can access those in case you're new to the channel. But I'm going to be narrating a little bit of what I'm doing. However, because this is a long process and I've noticed that people do not like to watch an hour video, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up in two parts. The first part is going to be me with a little bit of narration commentary showing you what I'm doing and a little bit of a time lapse. I'm going to try to make it not as fast, and then I'm going to get out another part for those that are interested in looking at exactly what I did, how did I place things. That part's not going to be time-lapse, going to be a very long video, but that's for those who want to actually go through the whole process, because I found that some people just want to get to the point, just get to the tutorial. Other people do like to look at the whole thing like I do, so I'm going to leave that up to you. Now, let's get started. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I created this. Just go to create new level and select time of day. That will give you exactly this setting that I have right here. And this is good setting with a nice atmosphere. I think this is nicer than the previous atmosphere. And I'm just controlling the sun with the directional light. You can hold Control and L to do that. I just prefer to do it this way. And as you can see, I get a nice sunset in case you want to do that. However, later on, I'm going to be adding another sky sphere just to get a little bit more clouds. But for now, this will do. Just going to change the intensity to get a little bit of a brighter sun, and you're going to see me getting rid and turning off some of these assets that I'm not going to be using. Now the next thing is to create a landscape. If you want to see a little bit more in-depth dive as to how to create the landscape, then feel free to browse the playlist that I'm going to leave in the pinned comment below. I'm just going to create this landscape real quick. One of the things that I like to do is bring one of the Unreal mannequins. You can find it on the starter content, and you can also find it around for free. The Unreal mannequin is only to allow myself to just get a sense of scale. Most, if not all, of the assets inside the Megascans are to scales, but I like to get a sense of scale of how things will look on next to a human size character. So this is why I like to bring a mannequin before I start sculpting my landscape, because I'm going to do something very specific here. Now later on I'm just going to do a little bit of sculpting. But first, I like to place my camera. This is one trick that I like to do a lot, is I like to place my camera into the specific shot that I want to get in the end. And this will help me a lot avoid kind of like where are things going. I have a very specific shot that I want to create for this environment. So this camera is going to be my main driver. I'm going to have another viewport with this camera in a second monitor just because otherwise you guys won't see absolutely everything that I'm doing. But this camera really helps to visualize that concept that you have. So if you have a very specific concept or shot, just pull down a camera and that will help you decide what things are going to look like. And we will make things so much easier than just going around the viewport without any guide whatsoever. All right, I'm just going to be doing a little bit of sculpting here to the landscape. Okay, and I just brought in what's going to be my main piece of focus for this environment. It's going to be that kind of like rocks that look like they're making a portal in that hill. So this is another way that you can use Megascan assets. You don't have to use them 100% the way they are. You can rescale them, resize them, and they still look amazing. So what I did is I just rescaled this a little bit on one of the axes and got this kind of rock with one of the Megascans. So that's why I think they're so good, because you can be really creative with these assets. And I encourage you to try to be as creative as you can with this. You don't have to model anything. I'm not modeling anything for this tutorial. I'm just using the Megascans as they are, and I'm just rescaling and using the gizmos here and there just to kind of create the shape that I want with this specific rock. Now, again, for the mountains in the back, I'm just doing this as set dressing. I'm not doing it as an actual level. So you see things that are actually closer that probably shouldn't be as close. But just like I mentioned before, what I did here is just rescale the whole asset. And this is not supposed to be a mountain asset. I'm just using it as a mountain asset. So that's the versatility of using these as modular assets. You can just plug things into one another, rescale them to kind of create the effect that you're looking for in your scene. All right, now another important part is I'm going to drop the foliage here to paint the foliage. It's easier than placing it manually because there's so much grass in this scenery. So I'm just going to, I have various different types of grass in this, so I'm just going to choose this one first. And you see that I'm going to kind of layer them up with like wildflowers and other type of grass. Just adjusting my density a little bit. And I'm just gonna paint it over. Right now I don't have a floor texture for the landscape, so it doesn't look like much, but you'll see it coming together once I start layering all the 3D plants that I want to add in the foliage, plus the ground that I'm going to be adding. I like to add the ground at the end, so I can decide a little bit more of the look that I want with the foliage, and then I'll decide what kind of ground I want. Now I'm layering a second type of grass. So it's a little bit bigger. This type of clump, it's a little bit closer together. So just to give a little bit of variation, that's why I do it in sort of a layering situation instead of doing them all together, just because this allowed me to create that variation that, or at least try to get to that variation that you guys can see in nature. So because this is just a scene that I'm putting together, I'm not going to paint absolutely the whole landscape. There's no need to. I'm just going to paint what's going to be shown on the camera. And now I'm just going to add some wildflowers. These ones that are selecting right here, just add them to the foliage. Deselect my grass, and then I'm just going to add them all around. Again, just adding a little bit of a different type of flower just to add some variations. I chose this purple, so I add some color to my scene. It's not just green grass and brown rocks. I like to add some color to the scene, make it really colorful. And it all depends on what kind of concept you have. So if you have a very specific concept, just make sure that you're following that. Make sure you're looking at real world reference. That way you won't get something that looks very unnatural. Even if you're doing an alien world, you may be looking at real world reference just to inspire you a little bit and make sure you're placing things where they're kind of should go, even if you're doing something that's not natural. Alright, I'm done placing my foliage, and now I'm going to decide which kind of ground I want. Yeah, in the end, I decided to go with this other material. And if you didn't see me playing with the displacement in the other video, you can see it here now. I'm just going to start playing with these variables until I get to a point that I'm happy. And again, tessellation is just adding more polygons in order for the displacement to come out. And actually this looks pretty fun. Like I have a hole in the middle. Like there's a cliff coming down, even though it looks stretchy. Just bring the displacement height down so it doesn't look as terrible. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more foliage. I actually brought in a bit of a taller type of grass. And I just want to fill out all those empty spaces that I'm having around so it doesn't look like somebody ripped off a patch of grass. This is supposed to be a very grassy kind of meadow with a hill. So I'm just trying to fill it up as much as I can. So in the end, that ground was not working for me. It was coming through the grass too much, so I decided to try with these other two and see which one was better, which one looked better on my camera. And it was starting to glitch out a little bit, so that's why I changed these two values. And again, you can watch that video for a more in-depth on the landscape, and I talk about that and why did I change the values. Now I have my camera shot exactly what I needed it, and as you can see, everything is looking really nice already, and that didn't take as long. What I'm doing here is I'm going to add the sky sphere again, just because I was feeling that the previous sky dome was not giving me as much cloud as I wanted. The atmosphere was nice and I really like the sky, but it wasn't giving me that kind of like, I wanted to have clouds in the background. So I just brought in this sky sphere. And I'm playing with the opacity, sun height, just to get to the value that I need. So you can always increase the values further than what you have with the slider. So as you can see, that gave me a really nice blue sky, which is what I was looking for. This very specific part, this is only to highlight the central piece of this composition. It may look weird because the sun is the one that's supposed to be lighting this, but I decided to use a spotlight just to give it a little bit more of a dramatic effect, to make it look like the sun is actually radiating onto these two rocks, which actually they do look like a portal on the camera view. So that's all I'm doing here. I'm just modifying a spotlight to make sure that I get that effect that I want, even though it's a little bit unnatural and it shouldn't be there. That's just the way that I chose to do this. It's just helping a little bit more of the effect that I want to get with this. So you can play with the settings of the light to get that specific same effect that I have right here. The intensity has to be a lot because the light is very far away from those rocks. Okay, one of the things that happened here was that I was trying to mess with the skylight, and the thing about the skylight, if you choose the same template that I chose, is the skylight is tied to that sky atmosphere. That's why I changed to this really weird color, and I tried building the light, and at some point I was like, what the frig is going on here? But in the end, and all I had to do was switch it from source type. It right now is SLS capture scene. I just had to switch it to capture specific cube map. Alright guys, that was this video showing you guys my whole process from making one of these compositions. If you like videos like this, please leave a comment down below saying so. Also leave a like if you like this type of video as well. That lets me know that you want a little bit of a longer breakdowns like this. I'm gonna be doing something different for the next video. Remember to subscribe to the channel, spread around, that really helps me out with the views, and I'll see you in the next video.